When the first season of Netflix's adaptation of Heartstopper, based on a beloved graphic novel series by Alice Oseman, debuted earlier this year, social media was, for once, flooded with messages of love and support for the series and its kind-hearted portrayal of a budding romance between two high school boys, Nick Nelson, Kit Connor, and Charlie Spring, Joe Locke. Twitter in particular developed a trend in which members of the LGBTQ+ community, mostly gay and queer men, shared images of different media they consumed growing up with the caption, "This was my Heartstopper." Some were funny, some were accurate, and some were downright sad, an immediate display of how far we've come in terms of proper representation for queer youth, and still how far we have left to go. Collider video of the day. I had in fact just read the Heartstopper graphic novels a few months before the series premiered, completely unaware that it had been developed for Netflix. Naturally, as someone who squealed with glee over Nick and Charlie in the books, I gravitated toward its screen adaptation without hesitation. It of course triggered an emotional response in me, given that I was already familiar with the story, to the point where I texted my best friend who lives in another city asking her to get on a plane to come home and hold my hand while I watched Heartstopper. Her unhelpful response? Sit on one of your hands until it goes numb, same effect. Needless to say, as a gay man who grew up projecting my own desires onto the mostly heteronormative media I consumed, the series made me squeal and smile until my cheeks hurt, a feat accomplished by seldom else. But that kind of happiness often comes with the downside of returning to the real world. Not to say that queer people are exempt from happiness or unworthy of it in real life, of course. Quite the opposite. But it goes without saying that queer media, even the most inclusive ones like Heartstopper, which employs actual queer actors to portray queer characters, is still often tainted with an unspeakable notion of sadness. I felt all the feels throughout the highs and lows of the first 8 episodes of Nick and Charlie's journey, and because most heteronormative media I otherwise consume doesn't invoke such an emotional reaction, it just ends up serving as a reminder that despite all the progress made for the LGBTQ+ community worldwide, we are still other, shut out, have to fight and demand that our experiences and our humanity be allowed to merely take up space. And it can get exhausting, especially for a series like Heartstopper, whose backdrop of high school and puppy love conjure themes that are familiar and comforting for viewers who consume heteronormative romantic comedies over and over like their lives depend on it. Read me, it's all the more of a double-edged sword. One part of me is so content and grateful that I'm still young enough to have seen progress that allowed a series like Heartstopper to be made, and the fact that maybe today's baby gays will watch this after school instead of dodging bullies walking home from 8th grade alone to watch The Young and the Restless while binging in white cheddar Cheez-Its, like I did. Not to mention the series' very premise of the cute jock you're crushing on turns out to be bisexual and is actually also into you? Almost gratifying enough to heal my own crush on a painfully straight jock during my high school years. Yes, I still follow him on Instagram, yes, he's still gorgeous, and yes, he still doesn't know I exist. In the midst of my Heartstopper obsession, I made another friend, older than me, watch it with me during a slow day at work, during which she turned to me and asked the loaded question, "Is high school still hard for gay kids today?" The short answer is life in general, and of course high school, will always be challenging for queer people who don't fit in the box society wants to assign them, plain and simple. Life can and does get better, especially once high school ends. But we don't ever really get over the trauma of being queer in a straight world. Despite the success of Drag Race, the existence of lesbian Christmas rom-coms, and openly transgender Oscar nominees, we haven't moved on from the trauma of growing up in a culture that hates us, wrote Grace Perry in her essay collection The 2000s Made Me Gay. We don't move on from trauma, really. We can't really leave it in the past. It becomes a part of us, and we move forward with it. I love Heartstopper inside and out, from its happier moments to its very handling of such queer traumas, and the nuance of both Connor and Locke's performances. After watching the first season a good 3 times, I realized that the type of sadness it evokes is one that is so distinctly queer, I couldn't help but embrace it. I don't feel this kind of happiness watching much else, and I also don't feel this kind of sadness watching much else. It's a unique type of emotion, one best captured by country singer and LGBTQ+ ally Casey Musgraves in her song Happy and Sad. She ponders if there's a word for the way that she's feeling tonight, happy and sad at the same time. I don't know if there's a word for such an emotion, perhaps there is, but the concept that best describes that feeling for me is being queer. We're composed of such profound contradictions, free from the stifling constraints of heteronormative society but still plagued by the traumas that come to define our existences. Maybe the ability to contradict oneself, to be happy and sad at the same time, is just an extension of the freedom we possess. And when I watch Heartstopper, I think I'm okay with that feeling.